Welcome to Nightmare Coming, where folklore meets cold reality, and the stories whispered in the dark unfold in ways you never expected. One nightmare at a time, one hidden layer at a time. If they left it unexplained, we'll dare to look closer. If you've ever wondered whether the tales about strange teachers or haunted classrooms were just exaggerated school gossip, prepare yourself. This time, you may never hear the word lesson or the sound of chalk scraping the board the same way again. So before you lean back, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. If you truly want to keep questioning, keep seeking, and leave a comment with the weirdest teacher you ever had. I'd love to see which stories still follow you. You meet her on a Monday, the substitute. She's small, quiet, polite, almost too polite. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes, but you can't explain what's wrong with it. You only know that something is. She writes her name on the board in looping, perfect handwriting. You blink once, and the name's gone. No, wait. It's still there, just rewritten, like the chalk had rearranged itself. Ms. Lauren, that's not what she wrote the first time, was it? She begins calling names from the attendance list. One by one, students answer, some half asleep, some whispering jokes, but every time she calls a name, she looks directly into that student's eyes. Not in a normal teacher way, more like she's memorizing something, measuring it. And when she reaches yours, her gaze doesn't stop. It lingers. You're the one who sits near the back, right? She says. You nod. How's your mother doing? Still working nights? The class goes silent. You didn't write that on your emergency contact form. You didn't tell anyone. By lunch, she's everyone's favorite. She tells old stories about the building, about the principal's first batch of students. She even knows who used to sit in your chair, years before the new desks arrived. Poor thing, she says softly, he never really got to graduate. You laugh nervously, but her face doesn't move. When the final bell rings, everyone rushes out. You linger, packing slowly. She's standing by the window, watching the playground, her reflection in the glass, faintly lagging behind her movement. Then she says, without turning around, "Don't leave yet. There's something you forgot." You freeze. What? Her reflection turns toward you, but her body doesn't. You didn't sign the roll call. You look at the sheet on her desk. Every student's name is there, each one signed in blue pen, except yours, which is already filled in. The ink is fresh, still wet. You don't remember writing it. Do you always sign for students who are absent? You ask, trying to sound casual. She finally turns. Only for the ones who won't be coming back. That's when you notice something on the whiteboard behind her. Names faintly glowing beneath the eraser marks. Dozens of them, fading in and out. Some from your class, others you don't recognize. All under a heading written in perfect, looping cursive. Still here. You blink, and the board is blank again. The next morning, your real teacher is back. She apologizes for missing a day, said she had to attend a funeral for her substitute teacher training mentor. Her name was Lauren, she says absently. Lovely woman, always said she hated leaving the classroom. You laugh, but your voice sounds strange in your throat. When you sit down, there's something scratched into the underside of your desk. Letters you didn't notice before. See you after class. And when the bell rings, your phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. One word. Present. Remember how teachers say attendance doesn't matter once you graduate? They're lying. Detention that never ends. You never thought much about detention. Just an after-school punishment. A few hours staring at the clock while a teacher watches you rot in silence. But that's before you get that slip. The pink one, the one nobody remembers seeing before. You'd been late 3 times that week, barely worth a warning. Yet when the bell rings, the hall monitor stops you, expression blank. Room 12B, she says, handing you the slip. Be on time. You open your mouth to argue, but the hallway's already empty. Room 12B doesn't exist on your school map. You check twice. Still, you follow the echo of footsteps down a wing you've never noticed before. one that smells faintly of burnt erasers and rain-soaked paper. The kind of smell old buildings get when the walls have absorbed too many secrets. The door waits at the end of the hall. The number on it has been scratched off and rewritten so many times. It looks more like a scar than paint. You push it open. The room's colder than the hallway. Dim light hums from a single bulb swinging overhead. The clock above the whiteboard reads 3:15. You take a seat. There are already others inside. 4 students you don't know, but who look familiar somehow. One of them whispers, "First time?" You nod. She smirks. "Don't worry, you'll get used to it." A tall man walks in, holding a clipboard. His clothes look like a teacher's uniform from the 1970s. Brown vest, faded tie, shoes that squeak like something alive. His name tag reads Mr. Halbrook. He doesn't look at anyone when he speaks. Phone's off, eyes forward. You obey. The second hand on the clock ticks once, then stops. You glance at your watch. It's stuck to 3:15. "Homework," he says. "Pass it in." You freeze. No one has homework for detention, still. The others reach into their bags and place something on their desks. Not papers, but objects. A torn photograph, a ring, a small toy car. Each one old, worn, personal. You don't move. Mr. Halbrook stops beside you. "You didn't bring anything to offer?" "I didn't know I was supposed to." He sighs, the sound like a creaking floorboard. "Then you'll have to stay until you remember what belongs to me." The bulb flickers. The walls feel closer. You glance around. The students aren't moving anymore. Their faces are pale, glassy. One blinks, too slowly. Something dark drips from the edge of her desk. Ink, maybe. You whisper, "What is this?" Mr. Halbrook sets his clipboard down. It's where unfinished lessons come to rest. Some students never stop learning. You stand to leave. The door's gone. Only the clock remains, frozen at 3:15. Your phone buzzes in your pocket. No signal, but one notification. Detention will resume tomorrow. You turn back to the others. They're watching you now. Every eye open, unblinking. And one desk at the back, the one farthest from the light, sits empty. It's labeled with masking tape. Your name. The clock ticks once. 3:15 again. You swear it's later. You blink, and the room is empty. You're back in the hallway, but something's wrong. The world feels paused. No footsteps, no chatter, no bells. You look down at the pink slip in your hand. The date has changed. It now reads, "Detention served, 3:15 p.m. every day." Some say time slows down when you're bored in class, but you know better now. It doesn't slow down. It just stops noticing you. And when you pass by room 12B the next morning, the door's still there, slightly open. The clock inside still ticking at 3:15, waiting. You walk faster, but the reflection in the window beside you doesn't. It just stays there, sitting in that room, watching the clock, waiting for you to come back. The lesson on silence. You don't remember when he arrived. Maybe he'd always been there. The quiet teacher everyone assumed had tenure, simply because he looked too tired to be new. Mr. Vane. The kind of man who could walk into a classroom and make 20 teenagers stop talking without saying a word. He never yelled, never smiled either. He just had that way of looking at you, a long, unwavering stare that seemed to press right through your skull and sift through your thoughts like pages in a book. He taught history, which felt appropriate. His classroom was all dust and echoes, maps of countries that no longer existed, photos of people with hollow eyes. On the first day, he wrote one sentence on the board: "Silence is survival." He said it was a rule, not a metaphor, not advice, a rule. No one took it seriously at first. Someone coughed, someone else giggled. You remember the sound of a pen tapping. That's when it happened. He turned from the board slowly. Every sound in the room died. The humming lights, the scratching pencils, the shuffle of shoes, gone. The only thing you could hear was your own breath, harsh and too loud in the dead air. "Do you hear that?" he asked softly. "You didn't." "Good," he said. "Then it hasn't found us yet." You laughed nervously, like everyone else, but he didn't join in. He walked between desks, shoes making no sound on the floor, and whispered, "Every noise you make feeds it. That's why this school used to have 2 floors." Someone raised their hand. "Used to?" He looked at the ceiling. "Listen carefully," he said. For a long moment, nothing. Then, a faint creak, like someone walking above you. Everyone froze. Mr. Vane smiled, the first and only time you ever saw him do it. "It's still there," he said. "They sealed it off, but sound travels." That's when the laughter started, not in the room, but above it. Muffled, childlike, it echoed once, twice, then cut off, leaving behind a silence that hurt your ears. No one talked for the rest of the class. Over the weeks, the rule of silence spread like a superstition. You didn't whisper, you didn't cough, you didn't even drop your pencil. The fear wasn't that he'd punish you, it was that something else might. Then one day, you came in early. The door was open. The classroom was empty, except for the ceiling. The part where old boards met plaster. It was moving, like something was pressing against it from the other side. And that's when you heard him whisper, but not from inside the room, from above. "Don't make a sound." You ran. By the time you came back, class was already in session. Mr. Vane stood at the front, looking perfectly normal. "You're late," he said. "That's not safe." You wanted to ask what you'd seen, but he raised a finger to his lips. "Some things teach better in silence," he murmured. The next week, he was gone. Just gone. The principal said he transferred. But if you sit in his old classroom after hours, when the halls are empty and the vents hum like breathing, you can still hear a faint tapping from above, like chalk on wood. And if you wait long enough, it stops, because whatever's left of Mr. Vane doesn't need to teach anymore. Now it just listens to anyone who dares to speak after dark. And every once in a while, when a desk creaks or a whisper slips, the silence gets heavier, as if the building itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to finish your sentence. Remember his rule. Silence isn't golden, it's a warning. The homework collector. It starts small, just a rumor about a teacher who never returns homework. At first, no one cares. You're used to papers disappearing into administrative oblivion, swallowed by the same black hole that eats permission slips and lunch forms. But this is different. Mr. Crane teaches English. Late 30s, quiet, smells faintly of chalk and old paper. The kind of man who looks like he was born grading essays. His desk is always immaculate. Stacked papers aligned perfectly, pens color-coded. A single candle stub sitting by his right hand for reasons no one dares to ask. The weird thing is, he never hands anything back. He collects essays every week, and every week the pile grows taller. But when you ask for your work, he tilts his head slightly and says, "I already gave it to you." You check your folder that night, and he's right, in a way. There is a paper in there. It's your handwriting, your name, but you never wrote those words. The sentences loop strangely, forming phrases that feel too personal. I shouldn't have followed him into the storage room. The door closed before I turned around. You show it to a classmate. They pale. The next day, their seat is empty. When you confront Mr. Crane, his expression doesn't change. He simply says, "That's why I collect." Words are heavier than they look. From then on, you start paying attention. Every time someone in class turns in their essay, he lingers over the page, his fingers hovering just above the ink, as if feeling something pulse. He hums softly, like tuning an instrument, before sliding each paper into the drawer on his right. One day, you stay behind after class. When the bell rings, he doesn't look up. "You forgot your paper," he says. You tell him you didn't write one this time. He smiles faintly. "No, you did. You just don't remember yet." He opens the drawer. Inside are hundreds of pages, yellowed at the edges, covered in handwriting that isn't quite human, too neat, too symmetrical. The air around them ripples faintly, like heat on pavement. You see, he says, tapping the pile. Everyone's stories eventually start to sound the same. Fear, regret, guilt. I just collect them before they fade. You glance down and notice something wrong with the top page. The ink moves, slowly. The words rearrange themselves until they form a sentence you recognize. You're standing too close to him. You stumble backward. He sighs. Students never learn. You all think you own your stories, but once they're written, they belong to whoever reads them last. The candle beside him flickers higher, bright white for a moment, then vanishes, leaving the room in gray twilight. And that's when you see the shadow behind him. It's shaped like a person, but it's not his. It moves differently, slower, heavier. Its arm stretches forward, dips into the drawer, and pulls out a page. Yours. Don't worry, Mr. Crane murmurs. It only takes what's unfinished. You run. The door slams behind you, papers fluttering like trapped birds. That night you dream of the classroom again. Your paper lies open on his desk. Your handwriting keeps rewriting itself, line by line. I didn't leave fast enough. You wake with ink smudges on your hands. The next day. There's a new paper waiting on your desk. No name, no date, just a single sentence scrawled across the middle. He collects the stories of those who run. The rest of the page is blank, waiting. And when you glance at the clock, you realize something. It's 3:15 again, the same time as detention, the same time you signed that roll call. Maybe it's all connected, every lesson, every teacher. Or maybe you've just been turning in your own story, one page at a time. After all, as Mr. Crane once said, you can't fail a class you never stop attending. ... The teacher who grades in blood. She's the kind of teacher you remember long after you've left school. Mrs. Redmond. Elegant, strict, old-fashioned. Every inch of her seems deliberate. The pressed skirts, the immaculate bun, the faint trace of rose perfume that lingers in the hallways long after she's gone. She teaches literature. She loves tragedy. And she grades in red. The first time you notice something strange, it's subtle. She hands back essays with a crimson scrawl that doesn't quite look like ink. Thicker, glossier, with a faint metallic sheen that catches the light like, well, you know what it looks like. But you tell yourself it's just a fancy pen. Teachers have quirks. Until one day, she runs out. You're watching her at the front of the class. The red pen sputters, scratching uselessly against the page. Without missing a beat, she pricks her finger with a paperclip and keeps writing. The class goes silent. No one says a word. You laugh, nervously, because surely it's a joke. But then she looks up, directly at you, and says, some lessons require a personal touch. That night the rumor spreads that Mrs. Redmond keeps a small vial in her desk, a jar filled with ink that never runs dry. Some say she mixes it herself. Some say it refills every time a student fails her class. Weeks pass. You start noticing her handwriting changing. It's beautiful, too beautiful. The letters seem to pulse, curling like veins. And when you look too long, the words start to move. One day, she calls you to her desk. Your essay, she says softly, was personal. You nod. You'd written about fear, about losing someone. She smiles faintly. That's good. The best writing costs something. Then she slides your paper toward you. The entire page is red, not just the corrections, but every line. It bled well, she adds, as if complimenting your diction. You glance down. Your fingertips are stained. After class, you stay behind. Curiosity wins. You open her drawer when she's gone. Inside, hundreds of essays, stacked neatly. The top page is still damp. You lift it carefully, and the paper sticks to your skin, warm as if freshly written. There's a name at the top. You recognize it. a student who transferred last semester. The ink hasn't faded. You hear the door click shut behind you. Mrs. Redmond stands there, calm as ever, reading others. "Work without permission is plagiarism," she says gently. "You wouldn't want that on your record." You stammer an apology, but she doesn't seem angry. Instead, she takes your hand. Her skin is cold, her pulse steady. She draws something small and sharp from her pocket, a pen, the tip glinting like glass. "Writing," she says softly, "is sacrifice. Shall we begin the rewrite?" You pull away and run, nearly tripping over a desk. When you reach the hallway, you realize something. Your hand is bleeding, but not from where she touched you. No, from the base of your palm. Perfectly round, like a pen mark pressed too deep. The next morning, she's not there. The substitute says Mrs. Redmond took a leave of absence, personal reasons, but her desk remains untouched. And when sunlight hits the surface, faint red lines shimmer beneath the varnish, as if 100 names were once written there and tried to sink away. You check your essay folder. Every page is white except one, the newest one. It's blank, except for a single, looping signature at the bottom. R. Redmond. That night, you dream of her classroom. The papers float around you like feathers, all red, all moving. One lands on your desk. It says, "Rewrite accepted." You wake up with a dried streak across your arm, the color of rust. You tell yourself it's a cut from the edge of your desk. But when you wash your hands, the water runs pink. And no matter how much soap you use, the stain doesn't fade. They say every teacher leaves a mark on their students. You just never thought it'd be literal. The sub who knows too much. You almost forget about Mrs. Redmond by the time he arrives, the substitute teacher. He doesn't introduce himself at first, just writes one word on the board in perfect, rigid handwriting. Listen. You expect a dull lesson. You get something else. He starts talking about things no one's supposed to know. Your old locker combination, the name of your childhood pet, the nickname only your mother uses when she's angry. You think it's a trick, but when he turns toward you, you see your own handwriting reflected in his eyes. It's faint, but unmistakable. The way your letters slant right, the way you dot your I's too high. You're frozen. Everyone else just listens quietly, nodding as though none of this is strange, like they've heard it all before, like they're waiting for you to catch up. Then he starts calling on students. "Tell us," he says softly, "what you dream about." Each one answers without hesitation. Their voices sound rehearsed, word for word, identical to what you've written in your private journals. Your chest tightens. You never told anyone those things. When it's your turn, you stay silent. He tilts his head. "Ah, the defiant one." He walks toward your desk, the sound of his shoes too even, too steady. "You think privacy means something," he says. "You think your thoughts are yours, but classrooms were built for observation. You've been seen since day one." He stops beside you and places a small cassette recorder on your desk. It's labeled Test 6B. "Play it tonight," he whispers, "if you dare." He dismisses the class early. No one reacts. They just file out, quiet and obedient. You stay seated, watching the recorder. The plastic feels strangely warm when you pick it up, as if it's been running for hours. That night, you give in. You press play. The tape crackles. You expect to hear your classmates. Instead, you hear yourself, your voice, panicked, trembling, recounting this exact day. Every word, every hesitation. Even this moment, now, as you're sitting on your bed, listening to the tape. It goes silent for a full minute. Then, a whisper. "Keep listening." You turn it off. You can't sleep. The next morning, he's waiting at the front of the class again. But this time, no one else is there. Just you. The clock on the wall ticks backward. He gestures for you to sit. "We've been reviewing your lessons," he says gently. "You're making progress." You ask him who he is. He smiles faintly. "A substitute. I take over when someone leaves unfinished work." He reaches into his bag and places a familiar red pen on your desk, the same one Mrs. Redmond used. She spoke highly of your creativity. You flinch. She's gone. Gone. He raises an eyebrow. No, just reassigned. He opens your essay folder and begins reading aloud. It's your handwriting again, but not your words. They describe a scene that hasn't happened yet. A student, alone, after class, talking to a man who records everything she says. Every time he speaks, the page updates itself, fresh ink appearing where there was blank space. Stories, he says, don't end when you stop writing. They just wait for the right narrator. He taps the cassette player on his desk, and some of us prefer audio. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead. You can hear faint static in the air, like 1,000 overlapping voices trapped in the wires. He turns the recorder toward you and presses play. It's your voice again, but older, deeper, detached. Don't interrupt, it says. You wanted to know what teachers really do to their students. So listen. You try to run, but the door won't open. You realize there's no handle on your side. Behind you, desks shift and scrape into rows again. Perfect, silent formation. When you look back, the substitute isn't there anymore. Just the recorder, still running. You press stop, but the sound doesn't stop. Somewhere inside the static, you hear her voice, Mrs. Redmond's, clear as ever. Keep writing, she murmurs. He's watching your grammar. That's when you notice the chalkboard. The word listen has changed. Now it says repeat, and you understand. You've been speaking this entire time, repeating, word for word. When the bell rings, there's no hallway outside, just your reflection in the black glass of the classroom window. Mouth moving, eyes unblinking. You're still talking, you're still teaching, and somewhere, a new student presses play. The final lesson. You think you've reached the end, that after the substitute, the endless rewrites, the whispers in your sleep, there can't be more. But schools have a way of keeping their own time. Bells don't ring to mark beginnings or endings, they signal loops. This morning, your hallway smells faintly of chlorine and printer ink. The floor tiles gleam too clean, like someone scrubbed away not dirt, but evidence. And the reflections move half a second too late. The loudspeaker crackles to life. A soft female voice says, "Attention students, Lesson 7 will now commence." You stop walking. The air feels heavier. No one else reacts. The doors down the hall begin to close, one by one, like camera shutters. And then, from the last open doorway, you hear it. The faint scrape of chalk on the board. You look inside. It's your handwriting again. On the board, in perfect white lines. Lesson 7. When students teach themselves. Your stomach drops. You never wrote that. Or maybe you did, once, in the margins of a notebook that isn't supposed to exist anymore. You step into the classroom. The lights flicker on automatically. Each desk has a single open book, turned to a random page. But they're all the same. Essays written in your voice, from perspectives that aren't yours. A child's scrawl about a punishment that made them forget their own name. A teenager's rant about a teacher who smiled every time the fire alarm went off. A college essay describing a substitute who could mimic any voice, down to the heartbeat. And every paper ends with the same red-stamped words, pass. You hear footsteps behind you. When you turn, it's not a teacher, it's you. A version of you, older. The eyes are tired but knowing, as if they've repeated this moment too many times. They smile faintly. You made it to the last period. You ask what's happening. They don't answer right away. They walk up to the board, pick up the chalk, and start writing again. Each word lands like a heartbeat. Schools don't teach knowledge, they harvest it. Then they drop the chalk and face you. Every thought you've had here, every reaction, copied, tested, stored. You think teachers go mad? Some do. Most just download too much of you. You laugh, a thin, brittle sound. That's insane. Insane? They echo. Maybe, but haven't you noticed? Every time you try to leave, you end up back in the same story. The air hums, an almost imperceptible vibration under the skin. You realize the fluorescent lights are sinking to your pulse. Look, the older you says, pointing toward the window. Beyond the glass, the campus is empty. No cars, no people, no sound. Just a chalky white fog, rippling faintly like a projection, waiting for its next frame. The final lesson, they say softly, is that you were never the student. You shake your head. Then what am I? They step closer. The air between you warps, a shimmer of heat and static. You're the curriculum. Your mind stumbles on the word, the way your tongue catches on a lie you almost believe. Every year, they continue. The school needs new stories, new emotions, new data to train the next generation of teachers. So they build students from old recordings, people who once questioned too much. You whisper, Mrs. Redmond, the substitute. Versions, they nod. Different updates. They taught you because you were one of them. You needed to remember before the next upload. The books on the desks flutter open in unison. Pages flip faster, faster, like wind through 1,000 mouths, whispering the same secret. Each page shows a reflection of you, younger, sitting in different classrooms, different schools, always the same lesson titles. Your double glances at the door. You can stay, they say. You'll forget everything. Start over. Write new essays for someone else to study. And if I leave? They smile sadly. Then you'll have to teach. You look down at your hands. The skin is covered in faint white dust. Chalk. Your fingers ache like they've been holding a piece for hours. Behind you, the PA system crackles again. Lesson complete. Begin replacement protocol. The light flickers, and your double vanishes. Only the chalkboard remains, blank again. Except for one phrase written in your own fresh handwriting. Homework, pass it on. The door creaks open by itself. Outside, the hall looks different now. Narrower. The lockers curve upward, closing in, like ribs. You walk slowly, your footsteps echoing twice. Your own and someone else's, a half step behind. When you reach the exit, you notice a reflection in the glass pane of the door. It's not your face. It's a teacher's. Smiling, patient, holding a grade book. You raise your hand to touch the glass, and it moves first. Class dismissed, it whispers. Then everything goes dark.